I believe Iowa's been in first place in February, first time since 1981-82. Dick Bremer and Greg Kelser have the call. Enjoy the game. Should be a good one. Dick?
It is a sellout crowd here at Carver-Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City. And a fired-up crowd, too. Why not? It's the only meeting of the year between Michigan and Iowa, and all that's at stake is the outright lead in the Big Ten. An awful lot at stake as the Wolverines, red hot, take on the Hawkeyes, who've yet to lose here at home. And welcome to Iowa City. I'm Dick Bremer along with Greg Kelser. Great matchup here this afternoon. Without question, Greg, the two most surprising teams in the Big Ten this year, and two players who last week shared the Big Ten Player of the Week honors.
No question about it, and it's fitting because these teams have taken similar routes to get here. And when you talk about Adam Haluska, that is, for Iowa, you look at what he's been able to do against ranked opponents, 19 and 8 rebounds. Likewise, Daniel Horton, 18 points and 5 rebounds on a pair of victories over Michigan State and Wisconsin. Let me tell you, if you love Big Ten basketball, this is the place to be this afternoon.
Take a look at the starting lineups. A senior-laden starting lineup for both teams, and two of the better rebounders in the league matched up here today.
That's right, a couple of demons. Brown for Michigan, able to get 21 rebounds at Indiana, and in a triple overtime victory here against Minnesota, Greg Brunner, 23 rebounds. You don't see that often. And
in fact, Brunner has a chance today with a big day off the glass to be Iowa's all-time leading rebounder. We're ready to go. This should be fun. Courtney Sims and Greg Brunner in the center circle. Tap controlled back to Horton. And the Hawkeyes will get the game's first possession. Michigan pressuring the ball and forcing a quick turnover. Ron Coleman peels it away for the Wolverines. Harris has really stepped it up the last couple of games for Michigan. Finds Sims for an easy jam.
Well, Michigan, a great start on the road. You get the turnover, and then you come down and work your offense to perfection. Before the game, Tommy Amaker telling us he wants to get it inside as much as possible, play inside, explore what's there first before settling for an outside shot.
More on the ball pressure for Michigan. Horner drives, loses it. Another Hawkeye turnover. Sims to Harris. And Brown up top. Sims again with a touch underneath. Fires it into the backcourt, and Michigan turns it over.
Now Iowa will look to be physical with Sims. Sims is long, he's tall, he's lean, and he's agile, but not the most physical guy in the league. So Iowa will look to body up on him and try and push him off the spot.
Wednesday against Purdue, Jeff Horner was the Pontiac game-changing performer. And a career night, 7 3-point baskets and 32 points, and he pretty much led Iowa in that second half, coming from behind to beat Purdue.
Now Michigan's going to really try and push up on Horner. You see with the ball right there, you get a lot of extra attention when you knock down 32 points and 7 of 10 field goal shooting. Tommy Amaker shouting out defensive instructions to his club right there.
He told us before the game today, hey, our Wolverines, we've done awfully well on the road. Now Brunner double team, dribbles through it. Another Hawkeye turnover.
They haven't attempted a shot yet, you know.
Horton off the glass, and a chance for a three-point play. Iowa with 3 possessions and 3 turnovers.
Exactly. Still looking for their first shot attempt. A dubious start, if you will. And Michigan, not the team you want to turn it over against. This is a very good full-court basketball team. Here you see they pressure along the wing, force that turnover, and now this just fuels their fast break, which is what they really want to do. That fast break transition game has allowed them to shoot 50% on the season as a team.
Steve Walford saw his team get off to a sluggish start against the Boilermakers on Wednesday. Now a bump in the lane and a Michigan foul. Penetrating was Iowa's Mike Henderson, who with his defense spearheaded that Iowa comeback on Wednesday.
But Henderson in this game, he'll look to penetrate, and he is a strong penetrator. He has to be strong with the ball because you can already see that Michigan is up, challenging every dribble, certainly every pass.
Horner, leaner, very short. Brunner gets the loose ball. Might have been blocked. Sims comes away with the rebound. Courtney Sims, kind of an enigma for Michigan. A very good game followed by a not so good game. Haluska with a steal. He's got Henderson with him. And he'll go to the line. A reach-in foul on Horton. They get the foul on Harris, not Daniel Horton.
Well, after getting 3 turnovers in your first 3 possessions, Iowa decides to turn up the D on Michigan, getting that turnover and a run out there for Adam Haluska, who will get a couple of free throws.
And a second early foul, Greg, on Harris. So he picks up 2 fouls in less than 2 minutes of play.
Michigan's a deep team, so they can handle this sort of thing, but they are missing a couple of guys who they'd love to have here. Jared Smith and, of course, Lester Abram, who's had a myriad of injury problems over the last year and a half.
And Tommy Amaker told us before the game, hey, we're kind of used to playing without Lester Abram, but the loss of Jared Smith and the talented freshman might be felt more here today simply because he's been in the rotation.
Now check out the zone defense being employed by Iowa. They like to mix it up. Had great success with that zone in their win against Purdue, bringing it out early here against Michigan.
Here's Horton, and he buries a 3 from the corner.
Hey, Michigan can knock down the 3, so if you're going to play zone, you better know where Deion Harris, you better know where Daniel Horton are at all times.
Henderson steps into the lane, takes it all the way in, but it comes out. Sims with another Michigan rebound. And Horton again. Rebounded by Henderson. Hawkeyes look to run here, but all the Wolverines get back. Henderson with a stop-and-go move, and he picks up a foul on Sherrod Harrell.
One thing about a zone, you cover areas, but in any zone, you must have pressure on the basketball. And you see Horton, deep corner, totally unguarded. He's way too good of a shooter to give that type of space to.
Third Michigan foul. Baseline feed. Hansen uses the glass. Eric Hansen with Iowa's first field goal, and it's a 4-point Michigan lead. Nearly turned over. Coleman tries to save it. Henderson up the floor. Haluska.
Big mistake there by Michigan. First of all, the bobble, which led to an unforced error, but then to turn it over blindly in your own territory and give a run out to the other team, you're better to just let it go out of bounds.
Hawkeyes step up their defensive pressure on the perimeter. Sims has it slapped away. Got it back. Finds Horton in the lane. Great feed from Courtney Sims.
And that's a good play by Sims. If you're going to be doubled, you got to be strong with the basketball, number one. Secondly, you got to keep your eyes open for cutters, and he found Horton that time.
And Henderson will go to the line. Horton, by the way, with 8 of the 10 Michigan points.
Here's that turnover a moment ago. Coleman trying to save the basketball, but he does so blindly right into the hands of the Iowa Hawkeyes with no Michigan defenders back. That was an easy conversion off the turnover there.
Henderson at the line for 2. Free throw comes out. One thing Iowa has done well this year, and Steve Alford played on a lot of Indiana teams that did that a long time ago. They've made more free throws than the opponents have shot, characteristic of so many of Bobby Knight's teams at Indiana.
I think that's a stat that sometimes gets lost. It's certainly skewed. If you're a good team and you're ahead, you're going to shoot a lot of free throws toward the end of games. And that's how Iowa, with their solid play this year, has been able to do that. And the same thing, in a sense, with Michigan.
2 misses for Henderson, but now 2 fouls as well on Sherrod Harrell, who replaced Harris, who picked up 2 quick fouls. So the Michigan guards in some early foul trouble. Down low, Petway nearly lost it. 10 to shoot. Horton working on Brunner. Long 3 by Hunter, wide left.
That was good defense by Iowa. They allowed nothing. They left Michigan with a 30-foot prayer at the end of the shot clock. That's solid defense.
Warner needs some help as he picks up his dribble. Backdoor cut. Brunner hard in the lane. Offensive foul.
Tell you what, defense dictating early. Michigan with all the turnovers, and they're stepping in to get that charge.
Michigan with the lead throughout. Right now a 4-point lead early in this first half.
Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by Nissan and your Nissan dealer. Red Lobster. Choose 2 of your favorite jumbo shrimp dishes now at Red Lobster. Advance Auto Parts. For the best parts, people, and prices, we're ready in advance. And by NikeBasketball.com.
Here at Carver-Hawkeye Arena, so far Michigan in front, but Iowa has held service throughout the home schedule this year. 13 straight home wins. If they win here today, counting the win in the final home game last year, they could tie a Carver-Hawkeye Arena record.
Well, it's a good time to be good at home in the Big Ten because of the top 4 or 5 teams. No one's giving up anything at home. It's hard to get a road win, so you had better take care of business at home.
And Tommy Amaker again claiming it. Michigan with 5 true road wins this year. They've done very well away from Chrysler Arena, and a big test here this afternoon. 10 seconds to shoot. Horton lost his dribble, got it back. Throws it blindly over Brunner and out of bounds. Iowa will get it.
Well, aside from the one Horton basket, the 3-pointer from the corner, Michigan's having its issues with Iowa's zone. They can't get penetration. They can't seem to get it inside via the pass. So they may see a lot of zone. And now Michigan decides to show some zone.
Iowa's kind of been hot and cold from the perimeter. Missed by Horner. He had a great game, of course, Wednesday night. Iowa crashes the boards, a rebound underneath, and a foul on Brunner.
Now, while Michigan goes to their zone, they'll want to make sure that they've got Haluska and certainly Horner guarded. And with Horner, you really got to push out because he has such deep range. He can go 4 or 5 feet beyond the 3-point line and still be very effective.
Brunner fouled by Horton. Now inbounded to Haluska. Hansen. High off the glass and out. Petway rebounds in the corner, throws it to Henderson. Back to Michigan. Harris comes away with it. Now Horton on the break. Harris again playing with 2 early fouls. Coleman feeds Petway, who scores for Michigan.
Nicely done that time. A lot of people handling the basketball very carefully. They get penetration that time, and the reason why they were able to do it by rushing it down the floor, Iowa did not have an opportunity to set up in that zone, so Michigan exploited their man-to-man coverage.
Down low, a double team, and Hansen elbows his way out. And an offensive foul on Hansen.
Michigan's doing a fine job of trapping Iowa's ball handlers, like right here, along the out-of-bounds lines. This is very, very difficult and no place for Hansen to go. He has no choice but to try to bull his way to freedom, and the official right there on top of it.
Michigan with the ball and a 6-point lead. Horton doing much of the early scoring for Michigan. Petway with back-to-back baskets.
Wow. Now that's something Petway did not have in years past. That little turnaround face-up jump shot. Normally he's a tip-in, lob, dunk type of guy. But when he can hurt you with this back to the basket from mid-range, you really got your work cut out.
Henderson's 3. Mike Henderson with a big 3-point basket, and at the other end, it's Petway again.
Right, Petway giving them a lift off the bench.
Excuse me, Chris Hunter with the bucket for Michigan.
Still a lift off the bench.
That's right.
Michigan back into their zone. That's a long, tall zone, too. You look at those guys along that back line. Hunter, 6'11". Petway plays 7 feet tall.
Haluska back to Brunner. Henderson again for 3. Against the zone, somebody needs to hit from out there. So far this afternoon, it's Mike Henderson.
And that's an unlikely source because Henderson is one of their poor 3-point shooters, but he's hitting them when they need them most.
And now the second foul on Henderson. Alex Thompson will come in for Iowa. Brown and Sims back in for Michigan. Brunner will sit. And Tony Freeman comes off the Hawkeye bench. Mentioned the Hawkeyes kind of inconsistent in their shooting this year against Minnesota in a triple overtime game. They were 1 for 20 from 3-point range. needing perhaps today to win this game to get some points inside.
Michigan perhaps being a little too physical inside, trying to set their screens to free their interior people. If Michigan can take care of the basketball, they're going to have an excellent chance here because they do not seem to be intimidated on this floor. If I were Michigan, though, I would not try the same recipe that they used to win here last year. Remember, 25 turnovers. They survived it. And the reason why they were able to survive it, they were monsters on the glass, out-rebounding the Hawkeyes by 12. But I wouldn't go to that card again today.
Each team with 5 turnovers so far this afternoon. Hayes grooms in the game for Michigan. He'll get a lot of the minutes that Smith and Abram would have gotten had they been here. They're back in Ann Arbor watching, hoping the Wolverines can get another road win. Horner out front. Freeman travel. And a Hawkeye turnover number 6. Steve Alford's team's been playing from behind. A little tight against Purdue on Wednesday and a slow start again here this afternoon. In the Big Ten, Michigan's been playing with the lead. And as you pointed out before, key for Michigan all year long is production off the bench.
And they're getting it with Brett Petway getting inside right there. And the nice little turner round jump shot, fade away out of the lane, something he has worked on. I mentioned that if Michigan takes care of the basketball, they're going to have an excellent chance. Their depth certainly having an impact. Right now, Michigan shooting 7 of 9 from the floor. So that tells you if they take care of it, they're going to get good shot opportunities, and they're going to help themselves in their effort to try to get this road win today.
Harris rebounded Coleman's miss. And Grooms, 5th-year senior from Detroit, getting a chance to play in an awfully big ball game here because Garrett Smith back in Ann Arbor suffering from a concussion. Long rebound picked up by Tony Freeman. Horner's 3. He had the stroke Wednesday in West Lafayette, and he hits his first here this afternoon.
Well, you have to know where he is in transition. 3-point shooters can be very, very difficult and tough in transition because you're getting back, but you got to match up as well.
Michigan's lead was 8. Now it's 1. Graham Brown backs Thompson in. Can't get the roll. Sims tips. Freeman again comes away with it. Big wrap on that left ankle. He had a calf injury that slowed him down the last couple of weeks. Haluska looks inside and takes it to the baseline. Thomas misses a chance for a Hawkeye lead. Grooms rebounds. Harris with a long 3. Thompson rebounds. Thomas couldn't handle the alley-oop off the glass to Grooms. So Iowa's had a couple of possessions here, Greg, to take a lead. Misfired. And now Brown with a touch down low. Harris hits a 3 uncontested.
Well, that's exactly what Tommy Amaker said he wanted to do. You saw it right there. They got the ball deep inside, a double team, forcing it back outside, but the rotation slow and the extra pass getting Harris a wide open look.
Thompson to Thomas, and they convert. Doug Thomas gets some bench points for Iowa. We're playing for the Big Ten lead here in Iowa City at Carver-Hawkeye Arena along with Greg Kelser. I'm Dick Bremer. Brown with a touch off the glass for Michigan.
Brown was so big and strong with that post position. It wasn't the greatest speed inside. As you look at the 3-point shooting, Iowa 75%. Helped them get back into this game. It started very slow.
2 for Henderson, 1 for Horner. Now Thomas with his 3rd straight shot. Rebounded by Sims, and Michigan will take a quick timeout. 9:02 left, and Tommy Amaker calling a timeout. Iowa trying to come back. Michigan leading a few moments ago by as many as 8 points. Here's an advanced look at upcoming games brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. For the best parts, people, and price, we're ready in advance.
Well, you look at this, Michigan, you're going to get Ohio State, then you got to go on the road to Purdue, and then Minnesota back in Ann Arbor. today, this game is very important for Iowa. As you look at their schedule, their next two are on the road at Northwestern and Indiana. Their only home game of their next four is here against Michigan State, a team that beat them by 30 and in Lansing, albeit, but still a very, very tough home contest. So it really puts emphasis on how important this game today is for them.
And for the Hawkeyes, perfect at home. They have not had the success on the road that the Wolverines have had. Nevertheless, a gutty win for Steve Alford and his crew on Wednesday. Purdue plays everybody tough, but eventually Iowa prevailed. Petway off the bench with 4 points, helping Michigan stay out in front here throughout this first half. 8:50 to play. Iowa back in that 1-2-2 zone that helped them pull away from Purdue toward the end. Sims double teamed upon catching the ball. He still works inside and scores.
That was nice. Michigan's starting to get the ball movement, taking good care of it, and making sure passes.
Henderson with a couple of three-point baskets. Notable in his absence, Greg Brunner did not have a good game Wednesday against Purdue, and he's been a little bit slow to get started here this afternoon. Not on the floor right now. Although, having said that, he'll check in at the next stoppage.
Look at the way Michigan extends that zone to make sure Horner is guarded, forcing a tough shot.
Thomas with an offensive rebound for the Hawkeyes. Freeman takes over at the point, and that allows Horner to cut baseline to baseline. Freeman's three. Tony Freeman, just a freshman, steps up and hits a big three for the Hawkeyes. Horton left alone. He spins away and scores.
Daniel Horton is playing so well, so under control, leading this team, knowing when to get his own, knowing when to dish it, playing like a senior should. Great leadership.
Scores when the Wolverines need him to score, and gets assists, a dozen of them in the game on Wednesday. Thompson cuts. Blocked by Petway and recovered by Sims. Alley-oop, and Thomas got back to swat it away. Baseline to baseline, Thomas with a big defensive play, but the Wolverines still lead by 5. All right, thank you, Mike and Sean. Michigan leading here 25-20. They've led by as many as 8 points. Michigan has hit its last 4 field goal attempts. Iowa struggling from the field, but nothing new for Steve Alford there. He's seen his team have some dreadful shooting slumps in some games this year, yet nevertheless they're playing for the Big Ten lead here today. Javon Shepard off the Michigan bench to get some minutes here. Less than 7 minutes to play in the half. Sims working on Thomas. Coleman fighting for the rebound, but Brunner's there for Iowa.
Even with the miss, you got to marvel at Michigan's patience and the way they have started to handle the basketball, not turning it over. They've solved the equation.
Alley-oop, too tall for Thomas.
I was about to say Michigan. Oh, turnover.
And Horner scores and draws a foul on Coleman.
Again, an unforced error, and that's what's hurting Michigan. When they take care of it, they're getting high percentage shots, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the Hawkeyes. And the thing that you really lament about this, if you're Michigan, it's one of those momentum swing type plays. You get the steal, you get the conversion, and a three-point opportunity, and you put a very good free throw shooter on the line. Gets the crowd right back into the game.
Horner just has had problems in recent weeks. He's ordinarily a very good free throw shooter, but Hansen gets the rebound for Iowa. Now Horner feeds down low. Brunner scores, and a chance now to tie it up at 25. Brunner finally got off the schneid.
I'm telling you, it's just like an avalanche, and you got to try and figure out a way to stop it if you're Michigan. All of this started with a simple turnover that Iowa was able to convert, and then they come right back with this. And immediately the momentum has swung back to the Iowa Hawkeyes. That's why it is so important to try to minimize your mistakes on the road. It helps you keep the crowd out of it, and that's important.
And the Hawkeyes tie it up from the line. Brunner with some big free throws in the second half against Purdue on Wednesday. Didn't do much from the field, but hit some big free throws. Petway over the top. Tipped by Sims, and Michigan regains the lead.
Something Michigan does very well. With all the length they have inside, they can get offensive tip-ins even when you block them out. So you really got to block them and move them away from the basket.
Henderson hung up in the air, and he traveled. Right on top of him was Deion Harris, forcing the turnover. So Michigan with the lead and the basketball. Freeman will come out. Haluska back in. I think a case could be made here, Greg, that this is perhaps the biggest home game in Steve Alford's tenure here at Iowa. Hawkeyes haven't been in this position this late in the season since 1982. And the Hawkeyes have just done a great job here on the home floor. Horton misses everything, and it goes out of bounds to Iowa.
And ditto for Michigan, and you talked about it before the game. Maybe the biggest road game in Tommy Emmerich tenure. Now, both these coaches are trying to downplay it. They want to keep the undue pressure off of their players, but this is huge.
And you know what? I mean, the beauty of this is whoever wins here today, the pressure will only mount through next week, and it'll get bigger and bigger, and there's no question. February tends to separate the contenders from the pretenders, and both these teams should be there at the end. Horner gives Iowa its first lead. 8 for Horner.
See what I mean about his range? He doesn't need to get to the three-point line. 4 or 5 feet behind it is fine for Horner.
Horton tries to answer for Michigan. Rebounded by Coleman. Harris for 2 and a miss. Haluska. Henderson one-hands the pass. 3-on-1 Hawkeye break. And a traveling call, turning it over to Michigan. Iowa with numbers, but another Hawkeye turnover.
They haven't looked very comfortable pushing the basketball. Iowa, the travel call right there, but on the positive side, they're starting to really defend Michigan, force them way out on the perimeter, taking away that interior play. It's helped them get back into this game.
Horton jumped out for 10 early points, has been held quiet lately here in this first half.
So far in this possession, Michigan has yet to penetrate the three-point line.
7 to shoot. Coleman short with a 3. Brown tips the rebound out to Horton. New shot clock, and Brown scores. Beautiful assist from Horton.
Well, once again, Michigan working that offensive glass. Graham Brown on the tip out. If you're Iowa, extra emphasis on blocking out, finding someone and blocking them out.
And Steve Alford upset, stopping the game, as Jeff Horner's got a bloody nose and will have to come out of the game.
Well, it happened on a screen. Just before that offensive rebound by Brown on the knockout.
Steve Alford on the verge of getting a technical here, pointing at one of the officials saying that's your call, and none was made.
I believe it was Graham Brown who set the screen, extended his forearms, got Horner right up above the neck area, and it went uncalled.
Horner trying to get the bleeding to stop. Today's game is brought to you by the best seats for every event. No tickets required. It only happens in one place. Only Vegas. Well, if anybody can set a big pick, it's Graham Brown. Remember what he did last Saturday to Cameron Taylor of Wisconsin. Just absolutely flattened him at midcourt. And Horner hoping to get the bleeding stopped and get back on the floor.
Okay, we got it for you. Watch the screen. Watch their arms. Hey.
Well, it kind of looked like Horner ran into Brown's collarbone.
On second look. Seemed like a pretty good screen. Maybe the only argument was that he may have still been moving, but he did not extend the arms. The arms came up after the contact.
Hit Graham Brown is like running into a grave marker, a tombstone. Michigan by a point. And now a hold on the perimeter by Hunter. A timeout here in Iowa City. Back and forth it's gone for the last couple of minutes. We expect that's the way it's going to be here today. Thanks, Mike, and thank you, Sean. You run into Graham Brown on a screen, you tend to remember it unless you run into him so hard you can't remember it. I mean, he is a big man and undergone a lot of work during the offseason to make his physique even stronger. Another free throw missed by the Hawkeyes. They've not done well from the line here. And Michigan with the ball in a 1-point lead. Harris, a long three. Brunner takes the rebound away from Hansen. Haluska knifes in. Hansen with the recovery. And Freeman now running the offense for Iowa. Horton, of course, out of the game after taking that heavy screen. He may not be able to come back. Brunner works his way inside, burrows in and gets the drop.
Greg Brunner really needed that because he has been struggling to score. So smart to take it down the lane, protect the ball with your body to try to get something easy.
Whistle on a foul before the shot. Greg Brunner picking up his second foul. Here's Horner coming back in.
Now, Dick, it took me a couple of times to look at this, but watch the left shoulder of Graham Brown. He kind of dipped it a little bit.
And Horner doesn't appear to be too worse for the wear, but that's easy for us to say, right?
He's breathing.
Maybe not through his nose, but he's breathing. Horton hearing the air ball chant after his last miss. Brown looks inside, and he's a marked man for these Hawkeye fans here this afternoon. A whistle and a 3-second call, I believe, on Sims.
Yeah, Michigan has had stretches in this game where they have been superb offensively, moving it, crisp with the ball movement, as well as the people movement, getting exactly what they want, be it inside or out. And then they've had stretches where they really have struggled, lost their concentration, and have turned it over.
Freeman and Horner, the guards. Hansen, Thomas, and Haluska on the floor for Iowa. There's Haluska. 7 for Haluska, and the Hawkeyes have their largest lead. Horton nearly loses it. Brown with the left hand short. Thomas rebounds for the Hawks.
I like what Thomas has been able to provide.
Hansen skids and scores.
That all started with the Thomas rebound, and then the tallest guy on the floor, Eric Hansen, able to beat everybody down, get himself right under the basket for a high percentage shot.
Coleman's 8-footer short. Sims with the rebound for Michigan, and he puts it back up strong. Courtney Sims with 8. And the Iowa lead is 4.
Half of Sims's baskets have come off the offensive glass, so he is having an impact getting that interior position. Said he's not the most physical guy in the world, but if he gets underneath, he can use that length on you.
Freeman feeling it today. 2 threes for Tony Freeman. Earlier, Michigan had an 8-point lead. Now Iowa up by 7. High dribble by Harris, and he draws a foul in the lane. And he took a shot to the nose.
This game is getting physical as Iowa hates to give up layups. So when you get it in close, expect to be bumped, expect to be hit.
Coming up at halftime, Indiana with a tough assignment. They step out of the conference and take on the #1 team in the country. Nice comeback in the second half. A little bit short for the Hoosiers. #2 Duke had to play some extra basketball at home to pull out a win. It's all coming up at halftime. Iowa 7 of 9 outside the arc here today, and a welcome sight for the Hawkeyes, who've started to shoot the ball team-wide just a little bit better in the last week or so.
Well, the thing they're doing right now against Michigan, they're really stretching that zone. And a moment ago, you had Adam Haluska running the baseline. He was able to get free in the left corner. Nice pass from Horton. He had all day to size it up. If you're patient, if you spread your floor and you get good cutters, slashers into that paint area, you're going to get good opportunities against zones. You just have to be patient and crisp with the ball movement.
5 points for Harris, who on Wednesday joined the Michigan 1,000-point club. And the Hawkeyes take a timeout with less than a minute to play. Adam Haluska with 7 points for the Hawkeyes. He's one of 3 members of the Hawkeye 1,000-point club, along with Jeff Horner and Greg Brunner. Watch the bottom of your screen and you'll see Haluska putting it up from 3.
Well, look at him, and he's behind the Michigan defenders. They know not where he is, and that's how he was able to find himself open in that corner on the nice pass from Horner. And earlier we showed you Daniel Horton doing the exact same thing for Michigan. If you can get behind the zone, then it's hard for them to locate you, and if you catch it in 3 and you've got a nice quick release, you're gonna score.
Haluska, just a junior. He and Horton, the co-players of the week last week in the Big Ten. Both Iowa and Michigan coming into this game with a bit of a winning streak. Iowa a 3-gamer, Michigan a 5-gamer. Iowa's converted its last 5 times down the floor.
Getting a nice lift from the young man right there.
He's hot. Tony Freeman with his 3rd jump shot. This one inside the arc, and he's got 8.
And as you indicated, a freshman coming off in a huge game, giving the Hawkeyes a lift, scoring the basketball. You may remember he had that early turnover when he first came in, but since that time has settled down, has helped them in the ball handling department, and certainly shooting a hot ball right now.
Well, a sign of a good team, isn't it, when you get a different player in every game? It was, of course, Haluska and Brunner leading Iowa. Then Wednesday night, Horner stepped up. Now the freshman Freeman with a good first half. About a 3-second overlap between the shot clock and the half clock. A lot of points up on the board. Horton drives in and picks up a foul on Freeman with 15.5 seconds left in the half.
Well, the one thing you really have to like about Daniel Horton is his calm, and with the clock, becoming a factor, the shot clock, he knows he can put it on the floor and get where he wants to go against anybody. He's strong with the basketball, and when he puts his head down to drive, you had better move your feet or he's going to be by you.
Horton to the line where he has yet to miss in Big Ten play. He's 40 for 40 from the line. Big Ten record 46, and he may get there or pass it, set the record here this afternoon. As Tommy Amaker, I said, what was your longest free throw made streak? And he said 4. I don't believe that.
No, not for 1 second.
And there's a miss after 41 straight. And Iowa with a 6-point lead, a chance for the last shot of the half. Who's going to take it? Horner makes it off the glass. 42 first half points for the Hawkeyes. Earlier they were down by 8. They head to the locker room up by 8.
How about Horner, Jeff Horner, deciding that he's going to take it on the dribble, goes by Brown, and then challenges the jumping out the gym Brent Petway at the hoop and converts. That was huge. He knew the clock the entire time. You don't usually challenge and win that challenge, not at the hoop against Petway.
Horner playing this week without that heavy knee brace, showing some quickness maybe he didn't have before. It's Iowa by 8. Let's go to the studio and Mike and Sean.
Well, Dick, you might expect a phone call from Horton after the jinx there.
It's the only meeting of the year between these two teams, and here we are starting the second half of the Big Ten schedule, and Michigan and Iowa playing for the outright lead in the Big Ten lead. A great matchup. So many great individual matchups with two of the better point guards in the conference going at it head-to-head.
Yeah, it's been a superb first half with plenty of swings. Early on, Horton able to get free for Michigan, creating offense for himself off the dribble. He led Michigan in scoring in that first half, and then, of course, Jeff Horner got it going late with his outside shooting. But there, sensational play to beat the halftime clock, challenging Michigan's big people inside.
Well, you don't get to where these teams have gotten this year without a lot of production from your bench. Now, Wednesday night against Purdue, it was Mike Henderson off the Iowa bench, and today Tony Freeman has stepped up.
Yeah, Freeman gave him 10 solid minutes off the bench with 8 points. He was 2 of 2 from three-point land, did not miss a shot, 3 for 3 in all. And another guy off the Iowa bench I thought did a fine job in terms of defending and rebound, and that was Doug Thomas.
So if you just joined us, Michigan had an 8-point lead early in the first half. Now Iowa with a lead of 8, and Coleman misses the first Michigan shot of the second half. Rebounded by Henderson, saddled with a couple of fouls in that first half, allowing Freeman to get a few more minutes on the floor. Henderson so key in the Iowa come-from-behind win over the Boilermakers Wednesday. Down low, and Brunner scores.
Wow.
Great feed from Henderson.
That was an excellent post feed, and that's the way you help your big guy who's struggling. You get him the basketball. Oh, big push there by Sims.
Sims pushes off on Hansen. Let's take a look at the first half stats and look at the three-point shooting percentage. Michigan just 2 of 11 outside the arc.
Both teams getting a lift off their bench, rebounding, favor of the Hawkeyes, and it looked like Michigan was going to dominate in that area early in this game. It took Iowa a little while to get it going, but once they did, they looked very, very solid.
Henderson hit a couple of big threes. Now Brunner recovers. Horner cuts to the lane, and Brunner finds him.
They are riddling Michigan's defense right now with the spread floor and excellent cutting.
Horton misses a lay-in after a great drive, and Horner comes away with it for Iowa. Biggest lead for either team. Iowa's come out of the halftime locker room scoring the first 2 buckets. Brunner will go to the line for 2.
You know, you talked about Brunner not having the greatest success scoring of late, but here's how you help your big guy. Watch, he gets great interior position and that bounce pass. You know, Iowa over the years has been one of the best bounce pass post feeding teams around. And then the spread floor, you're able to get Horner a basket. So right now you've got everybody moving well without it, setting purposeful screens, and Iowa coming up with high percentage shots.
And Iowa continues to push out the lead. Rebounded by Brown.
Now what Michigan will want to do now is take their time on offense, move that ball. Think about how you shot 7 of 9 to start the game. You got the ball swinging, you got it inside, you forced them to double, you kicked it outside, you got better looks.
Sims spins it out. Coleman has a roll off. Brunner with another Iowa rebound.
And then on the defensive end, if you're Michigan, you got to embrace your individual assignments. You cannot lose your man. You especially cannot get beat off the dribble and allow penetration inside.
Horton nearly forces an Iowa turnover. Horner with a bloody nose in the first half. And now Haluska's called for a push as Horton hits the deck. Haluska picking up his first foul.
This is good defense by Michigan, reminiscent of the way they started this game. Up in the face of the Iowa cutters right there. Horton going to take the passing lane away. He gets ran over, and the turnover goes in Michigan's favor.
Michigan having a slow start to the second half, as Iowa did in the first half. Some missed shots and some turnovers early. Brown alley-oops a little too far for Sims, and it goes out of bounds to Iowa.
See, the problem there, Sims hadn't cleared himself. He really hadn't made a big enough target to try that pass over the top.
And Tommy Amaker has seen this game, at least for now, slip away from the Wolverines. Iowa with a good push to the end of the first half and a good start to the second half. Anderson backs it out. This just frees up Horner to do so much more offensively when he's not the playmaker. Brunner off the side of the glass. He picks up a foul on Brown. different type of players, but yet both very effective. The 2 point guards here this afternoon have each done a good job.
You look at those numbers and they pretty much negated each other. But what's happening for Iowa, you're getting lifts from other people. Brunner starting to surface. Very aggressive, assertive to start the second half. This is his second trip to the free throw line, so he's making an impact.
Alford in his 7th year with the Hawkeyes. Only once in his prior 6 years have the Hawkeyes had a winning record in the Big Ten. And hoping to claim the outright lead at least for a few hours, with Illinois playing tonight against Penn State. And spins out. Petway with the rebound. Petway helped Michigan in the first half with some points off the bench.
Well, they can certainly use him down low now. Posting, rebounding. Michigan's inside offense is non-existent here in the early part of this second half.
Sims again getting a double team. Finds Coleman, who gets his own miss, puts it up off the rim, and he's fouled. He'll go to the free throw line. Foul on Hansen.
I would continue to try and work it inside, but if you're an interior player for Michigan, you got to know that Iowa's going to dig down and try and pull the ball out, so you got to be really strong with it. And if you see the double coming, try to pass it out of there and see if you can get something open on the wings. Michigan did that to great success in the first 5-10 minutes of this game.
Michigan without a point so far in the second half.
They're 0 for 5 from the field in this half.
And Coleman misses the free throw.
And Michigan, a very good free throw shooting team, coming in 77%. Can ill afford to lose opportunities like this when you're trailing by double digits.
Nothing from the field and nothing from the line here in the second half for Michigan.
That was a 79% free throw shooter that just missed those two.
Well, when you've seen Horton miss a free throw, you maybe can figure out it's not going to be your day from the line. Missing his first free throw of the Big Ten season in the first half. Warner picks up a double team. Finds Haluska on the run, but he traveled as he entered the lane.
He saw Sims coming. He saw the 6'11" Courtney Sims coming over, and it made him travel a little bit. Michigan again with a good, solid trap. Remember, early in the game, they got great distance out of trapping the Iowa ball handlers.
Michigan needs to convert here. This game slipping away. Horton having a tough time keeping his dribble. Still plenty of time on the shot clock. Horton lays it up and in.
That was nice.
A scoop shot for Daniel Horton, and he's got 13 points.
That's a tough way to get your team off the schneid. That scoop shot underneath a bunch of arms, but Horton able to get it done again off the dribble, creating the the offense for himself with the shot clock winding down.
Hansen left all alone, and Horner found him. 6 for Hansen, and a beautiful assist going to Jeff Horner.
Give the credit for the hoop to Hansen, but give the credit for the pass to Horner, who made it so easy for Hansen. One of the best passes in the Big Ten, Jeff Horner.
Sims stopped by Brunner, and he traveled. Help defense by Brunner, and they are rocking at Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Iowa trying to go 14-0 at home this year. How about the job Kirk Ferentz has done with the Hawkeyes? You got a winning program. You get great seats for the basketball games, too.
All the perks.
Iowa playing with a 14-point lead. Horner with a basketball, and Michigan needs to step things up defensively here a little bit, maybe to generate a little offense. Anderson finds Haluska. Shooting on the run, and he hits a three. 10 points for Haluska. And a 17-point Hawkeye lead, make it 14, excuse me. Harris with his second three-point basket.
Well, Michigan that time was able to score on the push, and if they can play better defense, maybe that will help them get some more transition opportunities. That last time they were able to beat the Hawkeyes down the floor despite having to take the ball out of bounds.
Horton punches the ball free from Horner, but Horner recovers. And Brunner with a hand check out on the outside is fouled. Time now for our Guinness game summary. Through most of the first half, it was Michigan in control. Now Iowa's asserted control.
Look at this three-point shooting right now for Iowa, and that was in the first half. 7 of 9. And the 10 bench points, as we mentioned, by the freshman. Tony Freeman getting 8 of those.
Petway guarding Brunner. And a blocking foul on Petway. Brent Petway picking up a Michigan foul. Thomas in for Hansen. Thomas in for Hansen. And Haluska gets it into the corner where Horner has it. And again on the run, a chance for 4 for Haluska. Different spots on the floor, but similar plays with Haluska triggering a quick 3.
Watch as he comes off the screen, how far he is from that three-point line. Hunter trying to recover, gets a piece of him. Haluska still able to shoot it softly enough to get it to catch the rim and drop. And at this point, you scratch your head. How do you defend this? Everything that Iowa is throwing up is finding the bottom of the net.
Both those jumpers by Haluska fading away from the basket. A very tough shot. And he turns it into a 4-point play. Haluska with 7 in each half, and the Hawkeyes up by 18.
Tells you a little bit about Haluska's upper body strength, that he can hit that shot fading away from that far out.
Brunner leads an Iowa break and makes it a 20-point lead. And the Wolverines down by 20. And everybody standing here at Carver-Hawkeye Arena.
Michigan's mistake was to allow Iowa to start getting those energy plays, those hustle plays that allow the crowd to get involved. And now you've got Iowa running on a whole lot of emotion, and that is tough to stem when you're on the road. Here's Iowa in transition. Brunner on the dribble, good ball handler, excellent body control to slide by the defender and avoid an offensive charge, and another 2 of the easy variety for Iowa.
Horton perhaps starting a new streak with that made free throw. You know, Tommy Amaker told us before the game, so what we need to do is we've got to get to the free throw line, and they have not done much of that here today. Horner takes a seat. Says we're a good free throw shooting team. That's a big part of our offense. And Iowa's done a nice job playing good defense without committing a lot of fouls.
They really have. And, you know, as predicted, they came in the leading team in the conference in terms of field goal percentage from the opponent. They only allow you to shoot 38%. So you had better take good shots, and you better be ready to crash your offensive glass when you're playing the Hawkeyes.
Henderson nearly turns it over. Haluska with a good save. And a hold out front. Hayes Grooms committing the foul.
Here's the thing that you have to wonder about. We talk about Iowa, and Tommy Amaker knew about and certainly respected their defensive prowess. But Iowa coming into this game just a 42% shooting team from the floor. Well, how about this in this game? 66% thus far.
That's pretty good, especially when you're getting as many threes as you have. Yep. And Freeman gets a free throw. You can see Horner, whose right nostril was bloodied after running into Graham Brown. And when you've gone through what Horner's gone through this year, bloody nose isn't going to stop you. Shedding that knee brace Wednesday night and coming up with a career game. It'll lead back to 20 for Iowa. This game much more one-sided than I think anyone thought it would be. Hunter gets the drop for Michigan.
Haven't been many of those opportunities, but whenever Michigan can get it inside, be it the Petway, be it the Hunter, whomever, Graham Brown, when he comes back in, you must find him.
Great block by Petway. Brunner denied in close, and now he's fouled by Petway. Well, Brent Petway with a great block. That was A close-in shot for Brunner, but Petway denied him.
And to do it from behind, this was a dunk attempt by Brunner. To do it from behind without fouling, all hands on the ball. But when that thing hits the floor, there should be 3 or 4 Wolverines on the floor trying to get it. That's a tough enough block, but you must come up with that loose ball after the block.
And Brunner starting to pile up points again from the line as he did Wednesday in West Lafayette. Iowa playing again with a 20-point lead. Alex Thompson in, and Brunner gets a rousing ovation from the 15,000 plus here in Iowa City.
Well, he was the man. He was the guy whose name we call the most since the second half began. Very good stretch for Greg Brunner.
8-point lead at halftime for the Hawks, and they pushed it out to 20 a number of times. And Michigan will put it in play from behind the baseline. Iowa's already beaten 4 ranked teams on the season, trying to make Michigan victim number 5. Grooms drives. Comes in on the lane, out of the lane to Freeman. Good decision by Freeman, especially when Haluska's open. 3 threes in the second half for Adam Haluska, and incredibly, Iowa's up by 23.
And the presence of mind, the freshman Freeman finding him. Knew where he was the entire time, got dribble penetration deep into the lane, and then kicked it out to Horton, who's shooting as hot a ball as you'll ever see. And I mean, the threes that he's shooting are deep. There's the penetration. It forces 3 Wolverines to get deep into the lane. And now that's a long way to have to recover to put a hand up on Horton. Excuse me, on Haluska.
Iowa 7 of 8 from the field in the second half. 3 of those field goals are 3-pointers, and Iowa pushing the lead out to 23. 66-43, Iowa in front. It was just an 8-point Hawkeye lead at the half. Let's take a look at our assist leaders, brought to you by Cargill. Collaborate, create, and succeed. Jeff Horner and Daniel Horton, 2 of the better point guards. D. Brown leading the conference in assists.
Yeah, Jeff Horner's done a fine job in this game settling his team down. Remember, they started the game turning it over and not getting good opportunities on the offensive end, but then they started to get the ball in the hands of Horner more, and he began to bring a calm to their attack. And since that time, it's been all Iowa. All Iowa.
As evidenced by the fact that Iowa came back from a sluggish start again here in the first half and has really broken this game, right now at least, broken it open. Petway at the line, and again, Michigan, pretty good free throw shooting team, but they've not done particularly well here today from the line. 2 for Petway, and the first one's good. That free throw, Michigan 7 of 10, but the Hawkeyes have had more opportunities from the line. Thomas eventually gets the rebound. Kind of tell it's February, can't you, in the Big Ten season? Just looking at Jeff Horner, he's got a band on his right knee, a wrap on his left knee, and cotton up his nose because of a bloody nose suffered earlier today. And Henderson scores 2 for the Hawks. Harris inside. He'll go to the line with Thomas committing a foul.
You know, it's really odd that Michigan twice now has been able to push the ball and get good early opportunities, but only after Iowa makes a basket. Michigan beating them down the floor after having to take the ball out of bounds. Now, if they can combine that with, you know, maybe better defense and a defensive rebound, they certainly should get some break opportunities, and maybe that will help them find their offensive flow again. They've had to work so hard for everything in this game, and that is not a good thing when you're on the road.
Been a frustrating game for Harris, who shot the ball so well over the last couple of games. Graham Brown greeted back into the game by the Hawkeye fans with a chorus of boos. And really, that screen on Horton might have turned this whole game around. The Hawkeyes from that point forward simply took control of the game. 2 misses for Harris, and he can't believe it.
And guess what? Harris is a 91% free throw shooter, so everything coming unglued right now for Michigan.
A little bit of a switch now for the Hawkeyes. They got 3 guards out there with Horner, Freeman, and Henderson. And Horner loses it. Harris has his pass blocked by Freeman. Recovered by Graham Brown. Now out of bounds. Tip. Here's the play we were talking about. Watch number 2 Jeff Horner run into number 25 Graham Brown.
It was a 1-point Michigan lead when that occurred.
And Steve Alford upset at the time. Since that point, Iowa's outscored the Wolverines 38-14. So whether it was a clean screen or not, Thompson swats it out of bounds. Whether it was a clean screen by Brown or not, that play really sparked the Hawkeyes.
Certainly was a turning point. Everything going Iowa's way. I mean, that play turned up their offense. It certainly sparked their defense. Their intensity level went sky high, in fact, off the charts. And Michigan has had a tough time matching that.
And Steve Alford been pretty composed after that incident. That play involving Graham Brown and Jeff Horner. Horton back at the line. Made 41 straight before missing in the first half. And Tommy Amaker came in here hoping that his team would pick up its 6th road win. Also hoping to pick up career win number 150 as a head coach. Doesn't look right now as if that's going to happen.
Well, he really had to be pleased, Tommy Amaker, with the way they started this game. They came out, remember, 3 straight possessions to open this game. They forced Iowa turnovers. Iowa had 3 turnovers and no shot attempts.
Deion Harris into the game. Horton will get a break, but you can bet it won't last very long. Michigan needs him on the floor. Down by 22, approaching the midway point of the second half.
Michigan electing to go zone right here.
And Iowa content to let the clock tick away. Freeman from the corner over Brown. It's short, and Brown rebound.
Iowa doing Michigan a favor by not using more clock that time. When you're way ahead and the team is sitting on the zone, you have absolutely no reason to hurry.
Holman misses. Brown rebounds. Grooms hits a 3. And a quick timeout by the Wolverines. Hayes Grooms with his first bucket, trying to shoot the Wolverines back into this basketball game. Quite a story here in Iowa City. 2 teams playing for the Big Ten lead, and Iowa's in control of it right now. Let's take a look at our Red Lobster nothing but net shot of the game.
Well, you can pick any Adam Haluska bomb that you like, because he's certainly got a few of them.
I'll take that one, because that was worth 4 points. He was fouled on the play.
I'll take this one, the fade variety. He is really forcing Michigan to have to extend their defense.
Michigan and Iowa both have a multitude of weapons, and Iowa being able to use more of the weapons here so far. And Haluska draws a foul on Coleman. He'll go to the line. And Haluska will go to the line for 2 free throws.
Iowa's ball handling and their passing of the basketball has been a bit much for Michigan to handle, especially in the second half. 8 of 10 shooting to come out of the halftime locker room, and it's because they are moving so well without it, and the ball is there the moment someone pops open.
Iowa now 11 of 17 from the line. Haluska perfect from the line at 4 for 4. And a miss rebounded by Brown.
I think Adam Haluska wants another Big Ten Player of the Week award the way he's playing in this game.
Groom slips and turns it over. Hayes Grooms again getting a chance to play with Jared Smith back in Ann Arbor. Lester Abram also back in Ann Arbor. And Tommy Amaker unsure, as we talked to him before the game today, when Abram will be able to rejoin this Wolverine team. He missed a lot of time earlier with a sprained toe, now a high ankle sprain.
Right. And played a few minutes against Penn State in their most recent game to see how it would feel. It did not respond. So they decided, hey, let's get him out. Let's get him healthy. And Abram is a very good player. Not flashy, not spectacular, but efficient and durable and reliable.
Horner to go to the line. Again, Horner wearing just a wrap on his left knee. Missed 4 games after injuring the knee in the game up in Cedar Falls against the Panthers, UNI. And then played with a heavy brace, and he tried it without the brace a couple of days in practice and had a career game Wednesday night against the Boilermakers. You ever play with a brace on your knee?
Nope. Nope.
They were too tough. They didn't have knee braces back then, did they? Coleman open for 3. Rebounded by Brunner.
Back in those days, you play with a knee brace, you're just inviting the offense to come right at you. Your opponent's going to come right at the knee brace.
Spit at it or spit on it and go out and play, right?
There you go.
Al Horner showing a lot of toughness. Partially torn ligament in the UNI game. And shooting the lights out of the basketball, or out of the basket, Wednesday night in West Lafayette in a very solid game. Reverse layup won't go. And Sims rebounds for Michigan. A 22-point Hawkeye lead. And Brunner with another rebound. And he's fouled by Harris. Boy, Michigan just has not been able to shoot the ball well in the second half here. And as you said, such an uncharacteristic half for Tommy Amaker's team, coming into the game shooting 50% from the field. Brunner with 8 rebounds. Came into the game needing 15 to become Iowa's all-time leading rebounder. Kevin Kunert setting that record back in the early 70s.
Deion Harris with the 3 fouls. You mentioned his stellar play against Penn State. He was 7 of 10 shooting from 3-point land on his way to 23 points in that game, but has not been able to answer the call here. You know, before the game, we asked Tommy Amaker about that 50% field goal shooting that you just mentioned, and he said, hey, yeah, a big part of that is our transition opportunities. We get our fair share of easy baskets. Well, their inability to stop Iowa today has really hampered their ability to get up and down the floor. There just haven't been many opportunities.
No, Iowa making 2 out of every 3 field goal attempts. It's kind of hard to get anything going in transition when the other team is making as many baskets as Iowa has made. Now Iowa by 24 points. And Horton with 8 early points against the Hawkeyes. And a whistle, and I think they're going to call a traveling call. A little disagreement between the 2 officials. And Joe DeMaio overruling Art McDonald, saying no, he traveled before the foul. So no foul on the play. Instead, a Michigan turnover. And Horner will bring it up against Grooms. Haluska with 18 points and 10 quick ones in the early moments of the second half, thanks to those 3 3-pointers. Thompson drives on Sims and lays it in with the left hand. Alex Thompson, and now a 26-point Hawkeye lead.
That was pretty. And I don't think Sims expected him to put that in the left hand.
And now Sims fouled by Thompson.
Once again, everything that Iowa tries is working now. Here's Thompson. He's going to put it on the floor. The sophomore going against a 6'11" shot blocker. Puts it in the left hand, and you can see clearly Sims was going after that right hand.
Sims with 8 early points, or 6 early points, I beg your pardon. And now a free throw. Big shot blocker Courtney Sims. Brown taken out. Petway in. Well, this has been such a manhandling of the Wolverines. Tommy Amaker will hope to get his team back on track, as Iowa did a couple weeks ago when they went to East Lansing and were throttled by the Spartans.
Exactly.
I guess you have to take the approach. Again, this barring a big Michigan comeback, take the approach, hey, whether it's by 30 or 3, it's just one loss.
That's it. And in this case, if it does end up being a loss, it's on the road. So you can really put it into a category quickly.
Thompson again with a drive and a hoop. So everybody contributing to this big Iowa win. If indeed this has been Steve Alford's biggest home game in his 7 years. What a story for the Hawkeyes, taking a very good Michigan team and now leading by 27. Incredibly, Iowa leading a Michigan team coming into this game at 6-2 in the conference and leading by 27. And then you think, okay, Iowa will have at least a share of the Big Ten lead. Then you look at where the Big Ten is in terms of conference rankings. And this win for Iowa, a huge win, and should get them up a few notches in the national rankings, clearly. Horton makes a free throw. The Big Ten, again, the top conference, according to the RPI rankings. Horton gets a couple of free throws. Made 6 in the second half. But it hasn't been a slow leak. It's been a major leak for the Wolverines here ever since this first half or second half started, with Iowa leading 42-34. Haluska thought about it, thought better of it. So Brunner takes the 15-footer.
That possession really symbolic of the way much of this game has gone for Iowa. Michigan in a zone, just patiently moving the ball around, 5 people touching it, and then eventually you get a wide open shot from mid-range, and Iowa was able to can it.
Harris with his 3rd 3 for Michigan.
Once again, Iowa in no hurry as Michigan content to sit back in the zone, though they trail by 24 points at this stage.
Anderson finds Haluska, who puts up the 3. Hayes Brooms with the Michigan rebound. Now Haluska bumps him. And Haluska's done a nice job on Harris. Very good defensive player. Iowa typically will put Haluska on the hot hand for the other team. Great job a couple of weeks ago against Minnesota's Vincent Greer. Harris spins it out. 3 straight misses in the second half for Harris, getting some consolation from Horton. Alex Thompson came off the bench, got a couple of buckets in this shift. It's a nice hand from the Hawkeye fans. That Iowa is where it is now, Greg. And again, Illinois playing tonight at home with Penn State. Illinois certainly favored in that game. It's just not going to drop tonight for Harris. Horner rebound.
You know, if you're Michigan at this stage of the game, you almost hope that all this bad stuff, you get it out of the way, leave it right here. You've got 91% shooting. Deion Harris going to the line. He's missed 4 straight. That does not happen. But today, seemingly not Michigan's day. So, hey, rid yourself of all of it now.
Hetway has a roll off his fingertips. No conversion. Horner stood his ground in the lane. Drive. And here are the Hawkeyes at least tied for the Big Ten lead as we will begin play next week. And their success story really comes, as Brunner is called for a charge, their success story really comes, I think, in 3 chapters. Chapter 1 was last year. Iowa with a tough situation. They won 5 straight, and then they played very well in the non-conference. And now chapter 3 with the Hawkeyes doing so well in conference play. Here's our player of the game today, brought to you by U.S. Bank.
Got to be Adam Haluska with the 18 points, on fire much of this second half. He really bust this game open for Iowa with a variety of three-point shooting distances, so to speak.
Chris Hunter with an air ball. Iowa's season a year ago, almost to the day, seemed spinning out of control, but they finished strongly with the 3 conference wins at the end of the year, 2 in the Big Ten tournament, and they brought just about everybody back from last year's team that won a couple of games in the tournament. Henderson from the right baseline, it comes out. Petway rebounds, and the people here in Iowa will tell you that that stretch of games last year, Brunner puts up a 3, misses everything. Back-to-back air balls for the Wolverines. Trying to tell you something how about their day is going.
What did I say? Get it all out. Just get it all out today. Leave it here in Iowa City.
Now, Tommy Amaker spent most of the second half on the bench, probably in disbelief of what he's seen. I think this Iowa team was, really toughened itself late last year when they fought hard to get into the NCAA tournament. Carried that momentum forward into this year. You do it in the non-conference, that's great. Now you need to do it in the Big Ten, and obviously so far they've done that too.
Yeah, they certainly answered the call, and they did it with their defense, because keep in mind, Michigan started this game off shooting over 70% from the floor through the first 7 minutes of the first half. But then Iowa really started to toughen up. They began to keep Michigan off that offensive glass, found their offensive rhythm, and from that point on, it has been everything Hawkeyes.
And Iowa will next week hope to do well on the road. Couple of tough assignments at Northwestern, and then certainly the game in Bloomington against the Hoosiers will be tough. Not much shooting room for the Wolverines. Now Hansen and Brunner combined for a block. And staying with it is Harris for the basket. Looking ahead, Greg, Iowa looks like they're going to be there all the way. You can afford a loss. What you can't afford in February in the Big Ten with things bunched up like that, you just can't afford any 0-2 weeks.
Well, and to add to that, I don't think you can afford to lose games at home, because if you lose one at home, then you're causing yourself now to have to go out and win one on the road of equal value. In other words, you got to win it at one of those places you didn't expect to. So give Iowa credit. They hold serve at home. And Michigan, I don't think they're going to leave here overly dismayed, because this is just a road win, and you're not factoring too many of them into the equation. They're still in great shape to contend for the Big Ten championship. Both these teams are.
Michigan hosting Iowa State on Thursday. Next Saturday playing in West Lafayette against the Boilermakers. He's in his 7th year, and it's not been a smooth ride for sure, but Steve Alford's got himself a very good basketball team this year, and the fans here have certainly responded, particularly in the weekend games. Sellout crowds expected here in Iowa City. Hey, when you're perfect at home, you better sell your building out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But, getting a lot of distance out of their experience. You got seniors abound on this Iowa roster. They've been through a lot of games, a lot of tough situations, and that maturity certainly surfaced in this game today. They did not get dismayed or frazzled after they started the game, turning the ball over 3 consecutive times.
Corner misses, rebound by Hansen, no big deal. He gets it out to Henderson, and the Hawkeyes reset. And again, Michigan not putting any pressure on the ball, and the Hawkeyes say, okay, fine, we'll let the clock run for a while. Iowa's not been in this situation with a share of the Big Ten lead this late in the season since 1982. Henderson open for a 3. Took the feed from Haluska and buried it. Harris tries to answer, but misses. Petway rebounds. Harris takes it away from him. A whistle and a hold, I think, on Eric Hansen. Quite a story here in Iowa City with the Hawkeyes pulling away and just over 3 minutes to play.
Today's Big Ten game has been brought to you by Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA. Guinness Draft Stout. Drink responsibly. Brilliant. And by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Iowa in the driver's seat here this afternoon, leading 84-57. And I guess the 57 is a bit surprising for Michigan, but how about the 84 for Iowa? This has not been a good shooting team that the Hawkeyes have had, but that's not the case here today.
Well, this we show you because it's a microcosm of their offensive execution, particularly in the second half. The ball movement, the extra pass, finding the open man, and did you see how open Henderson was for that open shot? I mean, he was clearly unguarded and he canned it, and that's what Iowa has done pretty much this entire game.
You saw Horner check out of the game. And there was concern, of course, back in December, early December, when he went down with a knee injury, he might not be able to come back. Clearly, the heart and soul of this Hawkeye team, and they look very, very good with Jeff Horner kind of finding his game again. There's a turnover with Coleman intercepting the pass from Freeman. Lost on the floor. Freeman got it back. 4-on-2. The Hawkeyes trying to break it. Alley-oop. And Thomas tried to bank it in off the glass. Time now for a look at a game-changing performer brought to you by Pontiac. He certainly was Wednesday night against the Boilermakers, and again here today.
He was. Took that near decapitation there, standing in there trying to draw a charge on Petway, and then near the end of the first half, going in, challenging Petway, and coming away with the dividend. Horner clearly, the difference here with his toughness and the fact that he was able to settle his team down after they started the game, turning it over.
Career high 32 Wednesday. Didn't need to score that much here this afternoon. Looks like the Hawkeyes are on their way to a convincing win over a very good Michigan team. Now Tommy Amaker getting an explanation. Dan Chrisman, one of the officials here. Art McDonald over there.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point a few moments ago when you said losses like this, you categorize them and, you know, put them where they need to go, because Iowa just 2 weekends ago was losing to Michigan State by 30 in East Lansing. Look at them now. So Michigan knows they can come back.
Petway coming out with apparently a rib injury. Well, in Iowa's defense, Michigan State very good at home. But you know, Iowa, here's what happened to Petway.
As you can see, that was going to be a
left knee
pass. Yeah.
Left knee in the ribs, it looked like, from Thomas.
Iowa was going for the pass off the glass.
Right.
And Thomas put knee all into Petway.
Again, in Iowa's defense in that loss against Michigan State, they were coming off a triple overtime win here against Minnesota. And the Hawkeyes looked to be a little bit tired, and another Michigan air ball. This one from Javon Shepard.
Get rid of them, all of them.
On the run, Thomas scores for the Hawkeyes. Couple of minutes to play, and the Hawkeyes looking like they might score more than 90, and Michigan just has not shot the ball well at all here in the second half, and a career game team-wise for the Hawkeyes.
You know, I think they're taking me literally. They are trying to get rid of all of them. That was another air ball there. As Michigan, well, you got to factor in Iowa's impact on this. Michigan has had a horrible day offensively, but at some point you do have to salute Iowa for the job that they were able to do forcing that.
No good by Justin Wick. Simmons, and that play, the Wolverines have tried to feed it inside to Sims a half dozen times, and more often than not, the entry pass has been too long.
Well, you know what? He's running that middle lane, and that is a tough conversion. You know, you just don't have the angle necessary for him to catch that, locate the rim, and finish.
Carlton Reed in the game for the Hawkeyes. Seth Gorney with the jam. Sophomore Seth Gorney gets in the scoring column. Holman over the top, over Thompson. Now Sims gets the recovery. And Courtney goes out of bounds. Michigan shooting 50% in the first half, but only 6 field goals. 3 of them 3-pointers in the second half.
Wow.
But again, credit Iowa's defense. It's been, a strength for the Hawkeyes all year long. And even the free throws have not dropped for the Wolverines here this afternoon. And a lot of smiles on that Iowa bench. And Sims misses them both. Thompson for 3. Everybody's making them for the Hawkeyes here today. Inside, outside, doesn't seem to matter. Sims trying to come back, and he gets a bucket. He'll have a chance for 3 from Michigan.
If Iowa, if this is their coming out party offensively, I mean, if they can come close to doing what they were able to do today, combined with that defense that they play, look out for the Hawkeyes. My.
The signature win was thought to be, in conference play at least, the win over Illinois. Another one. Carlton Reed with a 394 for the Hawkeyes. And Coleman answers for Michigan. Quite a day for the Hawkeyes, with a convincing win over a very good Michigan team. Earlier, a big win over North Carolina State may have turned this season around. The question here now is, how far can Iowa take this great run? They sure look good here today. 94-66, and Iowa right now is your Big Ten leader. A convincing win over the Wolverines for Greg Kelser, Dick Bremer. Throwing it back to the studio. Goodbye from Carver-Hawkeye Arena.